The U.S. Navy just put $70 million behind a cruise missile almost nobody has heard of. According to Naval News, the Navy awarded a $70 million contract to a company called Aspire to develop a weapon called COAS, a new cruise missile built with Allied forces in mind, not just American ships and aircraft. That's the confirmed core of the story: who awarded the money, who got it, how much it's worth, and why the Navy says it matters. This video walks through what that $70 million is actually buying, what's still undisclosed about the missile itself, and why the Navy would spend real money on a weapon meant to end up on other countries' ships and aircraft before we even know its technical specs. A lot about COAS simply hasn't been made public yet. What's confirmed versus what's still a blank space tells you almost as much as the eventual specs will. Start with what's actually on the record and where it comes from. The report comes from Naval News, a defense-focused outlet that regularly covers U.S. and Allied naval procurement, contract awards, and shipbuilding news. That sourcing matters. A contract award like this doesn't always make the general press. It tends to surface first in specialist defense reporting, then spread if it turns out to matter. As of this recording, July 24th, 2026, this is the extent of what's been publicly reported about COAS. The awarding service is the U.S. Navy. The contractor is Aspire. The reported figure is $70 million, and the stated purpose, per Naval News reporting, is to develop the COAS cruise missile as an option for coalition allies, partner navies, and militaries that operate alongside the United States but don't necessarily have access to the same missile inventories American forces do. That last part is the actual news value here. This isn't simply a story about the Navy buying a new weapon for itself. The reporting frames the program from the outset as a supplier option for allies. That's a meaningfully different kind of contract than a typical in-house munitions buy, and it says something about how the Navy is thinking about its partners' weapons stockpiles right now. What the summary doesn't tell us, and what hasn't been detailed anywhere yet, is the missile's range, its speed, whether it's a land attack weapon, an anti-ship weapon, or both, what platforms it launches from, or any firm delivery timeline. In most cruise missile programs, those details come out gradually as the program moves from contract award through testing milestones. Right now, COAS is at the contract award stage. That's early in a weapon's public life. It helps to know, as background, that cruise missile covers a wide range of weapons. Some are subsonic, built to fly low and dodge radar over long distances. Others are supersonic and trade stealth for speed. Some are built for land attack strikes, others for hitting moving vessels, and a few do both. None of that tells us what COAS specifically is. The source reporting doesn't say, but it's why which category does COAS fall into is one of the biggest open questions here, not a footnote. Here's where it gets more interesting, and where you have to be careful about what you can actually conclude. A $70 million development contract is not, by itself, a production contract in how the U.S. defense acquisition system usually works. An award like this funds engineering, design work, and testing, the phase where a weapon goes from concept to something that can reliably be built and fielded. It doesn't mean Allied navies get COAS missiles tomorrow, and it doesn't mean the Navy has finalized how many it will buy. The stated intent to make it available to coalition partners is the Navy's declared goal. Whether and how fast that intent turns into actual missiles on Allied ships is a separate, later question this contract doesn't answer. It helps to explain, as background, how this kind of Allied access arms development usually works, because it clarifies why a contract like this gets structured the way it does. When the U.S. wants to make a weapon available to partner nations, it typically runs through one of a few channels: direct commercial sales approved by the State Department, the foreign military sales process run through the Defense Security Cooperation Agency, or, less often, co-development arrangements where a system is designed from the start for export and allied interoperability. Building interoperability in at the design stage, rather than retrofitting an export version of a weapon built purely for U.S. forces, is usually faster to get into Allied hands and easier to certify for foreign use. A program that leads with coalition access, the way COAS does, fits that design for export approach, though the reporting doesn't say which formal sales mechanism the Navy plans to use once development wraps up. There's also a broader pattern this fits into, and to be clear, this is context, not a claim about COAS specifically. For several years, the Navy and the wider Pentagon acquisition system have publicly pushed to diversify where cruise missiles come from. For decades, American cruise missile production has sat with a small number of long-established prime contractors. Officials have said repeatedly, in public statements and budget testimony, that they want more suppliers in that market, both to boost manufacturing capacity for munitions the Navy says it needs in larger numbers, and to bring in newer companies that can move faster or offer different pricing than the incumbents. A $70 million award to a company like Co-Aspire, building a new missile from outside the traditional prime contractor circle, fits that stated policy direction. That's a documented trend in Pentagon acquisition strategy. It isn't proof of anything specific about Co-Aspire's technology or its odds of success. Plenty of development contracts to newer entrants never reach full production, and that's true across the defense industry, not a comment on this program specifically. So where does that leave the actual assessment? What's confirmed is straightforward. The Navy, Co-Aspire, $70 million, a missile called CAUS, and a stated goal of expanding Allied cruise missile options. What's not yet public includes the missile's technical characteristics, its intended launch platforms, any production or delivery schedule, and how Allied nations would eventually get it. If you were assessing a program like this yourself, that's the honest line to draw. Treat the award and its stated purpose as fact, and treat everything about the missile's eventual performance and fielding as an open question until the Navy or Co-Aspire says more. That's genuinely where this stands as of this reporting. Nothing in the available reporting points to a testing timeline, an initial operational capability date, or which Allied nations, if any, have expressed interest in the weapon. Those details, if and when they surface, will likely come through follow-on Navy statements, budget documents, or further reporting from outlets that cover naval acquisition closely. If a program like this matters to you, a smaller contractor picking up a 9-figure adjacent award to build a weapon meant for partner nations from day one, the primary sources below are where the next confirmed details will actually show up first. Not speculation, just what the Navy and the contractor choose to say next.